Hello, in this recording we're going to find the distance between two numbers. This is the distance formula. Here you can see it, the distance between 2 points A and B is the absolute value of A minus B. That's something you want to put in your notes. That's the really basic distance formula. It's just 2 points on the number line. This is a fundamental idea. So it's a really good idea to get a clear understanding, it's just kind of a really intuitive sense of this, because this little tiny formula gets used all the time in more complicated and deeper ideas in algebra and geometry. So this is a fundamental idea. So we're gonna do three examples. So I'm just going to make them up because I want these examples to be, let's see, we want two positive numbers. So let's just say the distance between 5 and, well, let's just say 8. You already know the answer to that one. We want a positive and a negative number. So let's say negative 2 and let's say 4, let's say 6. And then let's do a goofy one. Let's do negative 3.2 and negative, let's say 5.1. Okay, that should give us all the trouble that we need here. Now, I'm gonna make a number line here so that we can kind of see how this is true. And this is what I really recommend, that when you're doing these problems, that you first of all just really get this intuitively in your brain using the number line. And so let's try to make an all-purpose number line here that covers everything. So we'll put 0 about here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's positive 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So we'll do this one at a time, and we'll probably erase things in between. So let's see, the 5 and 8. So the distance formula just says that if you take the absolute value of the difference between the two numbers, so we can do 5 minus 8. It's that simple. Well, what is 5 minus 8? Well, 5 minus 8 is negative 3, but it's the absolute value. So that's the absolute value of negative 3. It's 3, and that's the answer. Piece of cake. Let's do it on the number line here. We'll change up our colors here. So let's see. There is 5, 6, 7, 8. You can already see it's 1, 2, 3 spaces. All right, so this worked. The formula worked. 3 is the answer. Okay, let's undo those so we can keep my number line. And then we'll erase the rest and do it all over again for the next two. Oh, you know what? Actually, I want to do that problem again. And I just want to point this out. This is really important. The absolute value is there so that we can take the two numbers, subtract them, and we don't have to really worry about which one is subtracted from which. But, between you and me, oftentimes it's a lot easier to subtract a smaller number from a bigger number. So it's more natural to say the absolute value of 8 minus 5. Right? And when we do it this way, 8 minus 5 is 3, we don't even need the absolute value sign because we got a positive number. So if we think ahead and we put the bigger number first and we subtract the smaller number, then we don't have to think about the absolute value there. But the absolute value is really useful because it doesn't make us have to think about, which one's bigger and which one's smaller. Okay, Now, all of that is easy when we're talking about two positive numbers. What about positive and a negative number? So number 2, same deal, absolute value. And this time, this is my little trick here. I'm going to put parentheses around my two numbers. So -2, 6, absolute value, and then a minus sign in between. There's a reason for doing that. You'll see it on the second go-around. All right, so the absolute value of -2 minus 6. Well, -2 minus 6 is the same as -2 plus -6, right? Oops, my negative sign didn't look very much like a negative sign. Okay, -2 plus -6. It's the same sign, so I'm adding two numbers that have the same sign. -2 plus -6 is -8. And the absolute value of -8, of course, is 8. Okay, so again, let's do that. Did I say that right? The absolute value of -8 is 8. Okay, let's do that again. The opposite way, just to show you that I wasn't lying when I said you could swap the numbers. So let's do the absolute value. Put the big number first, 6, minus the little number, -2, smaller than 6. Now can you see why I put the parentheses there? It's really important that a lot of people make this mistake. When you see 6 and then -2, a lot of people say 6, -2, oh, we got it, a minus b, and then we don't need to put the minus sign in there. But that minus sign paired with the negative sign, minus negative becomes a plus. So it's 6 plus 2, which is 8. The absolute value of 8 is 8. So our answer is 8, either way we do it. But you want to be really careful that when you put the negative number second, that you remember that it's minus a negative is a plus. Okay, let's do it on the number line just to show this is true. So 6 goes here, and -2 is down here, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces between -2 and 6. So it is true indeed that the distance between -2 and 6 is 8. Okay. Let's do the last one. I wanted to make the last one a little bit harder because I wanted to put in some decimals here. Of course, we could have done fractions, and that's even more difficult because you got to figure out how to add and subtract fractions. That's not really what I want to talk about today, so I'm going to just do the decimal version of this question. Now, here it's a little bit harder. What's the bigger number? What's the smaller number? Well, if you remember the way you order negative numbers, the bigger number is -3.2, and the smaller number is -5.1, and then we put a minus sign in between. Minus negative becomes a plus, so it's -3.2 plus 5.1. But this time the signs are different. It's plus positive 5.1, right? Plus is plus because positive 5.1 because we were subtracting a negative, and so it becomes a plus. So it's -3.2 plus 5.1. I always find it easier to do that one vertically, so I'm going to write 5.1, that's now the biggest number, it's positive 5.1, and -3.2 underneath that, and I have to do some borrowing here, so put a 4 and bring a 1, and that's 11 minus 2 is 9, bring down the decimal point, 4 minus 3 is 1. The sign of the biggest number is positive, so the answer is positive. Positive 1.9, but of course we have the absolute value sign there just in case we need it. 1.9 is the answer. Now I could do it the other way around. In fact, maybe I'll just show that here. I'll just set it up here real quick. So I could have said, let's see, the absolute value of -5.1 minus -3.2, and the minus -3.2 becomes plus 3.2. So now we're adding two numbers together, one's positive, one is negative, so we're still going to subtract, and when we subtract, we get negative 1.9, because this time the negative 5.1 is the further distance away from 0, but the absolute value of that is 1.9. So it works either way. Let's show it on the number line. So negative 5.1 is over here. Negative 3.2 is right there. So it's really hard to count when we're dealing with decimals, but you can see that the distance is almost 2, right? It's almost a space of 2 there, but this is 0.2 away, and this is 0.1 away, so it's 1.9. Again, a number line is not as effective. We would have to really zoom in on our number line here and write in the tenths between negative 3 and negative 5.2 maybe, and count off the tenths in order to effectively count the spaces. So it's good that once we've got this rule, this distance formula rule, set in our minds, it becomes a really powerful tool for finding distance without having to actually draw out a number line and show ourselves that that is indeed the distance. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful.